Tonight's lesson is on adding and subtracting. Nope. Come on, really? There we go. Subtracting fractions. Now I know what you're thinking. We did this already. But you didn't, because you didn't do it with unlike denominators. Now, honestly, this actually is pretty simple to do, because all you have to do is take your two fractions and make them have common denominators. So here is what we'll do. For example, 3/5 plus 1/3. Now, I want them to have a common denominator. I'm looking for a number that both 5 and 3 will both go into, and I just realized something else I want to show you on tonight's video. I'll do that later. So I'm looking for a number, I'm trying to think of a number that both 3 and 5 will go into, and if I think really hard, I realize that the number that they both go into is 15. So now I have to go back to my original problem, and I have to look at how I got that 15. So for example, I take the 3 over 5, and I say to myself, 5 times what gave me 15? Well, I know that was going to be 3. So then I could say, but if I back up, if I multiply 3 on the bottom, I better multiply 3 on the top. Now there is a reason for that. The reason for that is you have to change the fraction the right way. And in this case, I'm multiplying not really by 3, but I'm actually multiplying by 3 over 3, which is really multiplying by 1, which doesn't change the value of the fraction. Okay, so 3 times 3, that's 9. Okay, moving over to the other fraction. I look at the 3, and I have to say, 3 times what gave me 15? Obviously, we know that's 5. 1 times 5 is 5. So now I have a problem where the denominators are the same, and I could add them together. So I get 14/15. And there's my answer. Pretty simple. Now, you can do this. You know how to do this. It works for addition. It works for subtraction. I will tell you again, when you're doing mixed numbers, turn them into improper fractions first, especially with unlike denominators. It will make it a lot easier on you. The hard part comes when you get fractions like, and I don't know if we're going to have this detailed of problems, but for example, what if I gave you, say, 7/16 plus, let's do a subtraction problem just to do it. 5/6. The thing is, I could just multiply 16 and 6 together, and that would give me the common denominator. But the fact is, I really want the least common denominator. Now, you've probably heard about this before, I hope, and I'm sure you learned different ways of finding the least common denominator. For example, you probably learned it this way. You probably were taught, take your two denominators, 16 and 6, and write all the multiples of 16 and 6. So 16 and 32 and 48 and 64 and so on and so on. And then for 6, you had 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 40, there it is. Finally, I found one that matched. So I know my least common denominator was 48. But that took a while to do, and believe it or not, that's actually a simpler problem, because if it had been like 16 and 53, yeah, you're going to be dealing with a lot of big numbers. But let me show you an easier way of doing this. Come on. There we go. If we had 16 and 6, this is how I do this problem. I actually will prime factor the numbers. I'll prime factor each of the numbers, and when I do it, I'm going to put the numbers in numerical order. So 16 would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, this may not be a good one. I'll show you another one in a second. 6, we know is 2 times 3. But the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to line up common factors. So for example, I'll put a 2 under a 2, but I'm going to skip all the way over here and put the 3. And I'll show you why. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make columns between my factors. To find the least common denominator, I'm going to write down what number appears in each column. There's a 2, a 2, a 2, a 2, and a 3. And then all I'm going to do is multiply all those together. Well, I know that's 8, and I know that's 6. And 8 times 6 is 48. And that's a fast way of finding the least common denominator. Let me show you one that has a little bit of a trick to it. Not a trick so much, but we'll add a little bit into it. For example, let's say I want to find the LCD of 12 and 15. When I prime factor 12, I go 2 times 2, and I always leave a space between different numbers. And the reason for that is I don't know, maybe 15 has 3 2's in it. So I want to make sure I leave space for it. In reality, 15 is 3 times 5. So again, I'll make my columns. And my LCD is 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, or that comes out to be 60. So the LCD of 12 and 15 is 60. And that's how it will help me to do my finding common denominators. By the way, if you may have heard of this before, you may have heard of greatest common factor as well. In greatest common factor, we can use the same method, and all we do is we look for columns that are full. The first column is not full. The second column is not full. The third column is full. The last column is not. So the greatest common factor is 3. Neat ways, little tricks that you can help you find greatest common factor and least common denominator. All right, so I'm going to leave you with one to try tonight, and then you will bring this to class tomorrow, and we will go over it tomorrow. See you then.